Morning, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming out here on a beautiful winter morning in San Francisco. My name's Ed Riskin. I'm the Director of Transportation here, and we are gathered here to talk about safety in the streets of San Francisco. And the reason that we're talking about safety in the streets of San Francisco is because every year we have people dying in our streets, just trying to make their way across town. And last year, the city leaders came together with our community and decided that we were no longer going to tolerate, we were no longer going to accept the fact as a reality that people have to die in our streets every year just trying to make their way across town. So the way that we manifested that was through the adoption by the city of something that we and others around the world are calling Vision Zero. For us, what that means is a goal to eliminate all traffic fatalities in San Francisco by 2024. It's a very ambitious goal. It's now the city policy, and it's really a statement by the folks who are here and many others in the community that we're just no longer going to accept the fact that people have to die this way in San Francisco. So with the adoption of Vision Zero, what we want to talk about today was moving Vision Zero from a goal and a policy into action. And that action is being driven by many of the leaders who are standing up here with me, and they are being led by our chief executive. So please join me in welcoming the mayor of the city and county of San Francisco, Mayor Ed Lee.
Thank you, Ed. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our DPW yard. A lot of memories here. A lot of memories of a lot of garbage, a lot of things. But I want to thank Mohammed and the Public Works for allowing us to use this site. It's a site where a lot of infrastructure is the center of everybody's work, but it's also because infrastructure is what we're doing today in the whole city of San Francisco on a very high level. And this is why we have a lot of departments working, as Ed said, on this Vision Zero and making sure we implement it in the most aggressive fashion that we can. We have a lot of projects that we've identified, and we're no longer talking about it. We are in the mode of implementing these programs. And one of the strongest ideas that came out of all of our collaboration with our advocates that are standing right here beside us, along with the many departments that are here as well. In this collaboration of health, of public works, of MTA, of our police and fire departments, of our disability advocates and our division of the Mayor's Office of Disability, as well as our community-based advocates, is that we need a continued, sustained, very serious education program. And this is the principal reason why the California Truckers Association is right here today with an example of their rigs and their commitment to working with us, the entire private sector, the utility companies and others, working with all of our departments with a program that is designed to focus on, at least for the next 2 years, a very deliberate effort to look at the way our urban large vehicles are traveling and going in and out and through our city and neighborhoods. This is important to us because we realized at the very start that while there may be, in terms of numbers of collisions, less, each of those collisions are very severe. Whether you're a bicyclist, a walker, whether you're a senior or a family, that if you are in the unlucky situation of having engaged with these large vehicles, your chances of coming out of that is going to be very, very little. And we realize that this is one of the most important things, that as we are experiencing a very strong economy in San Francisco, with all of the developments, not just downtown, but in our neighborhoods, with people rehabbing their homes, small businesses rehabbing from fires and all other disasters, or from our local neighborhoods, or in the downtown corridor, this is very important. I know Supervisor Kim, this is one of the most important things that she said to me as we experienced very large numbers of accidents in the last couple years that we have to make a much more serious effort. All of our advocates said the same thing. And so it's been my personal objective to make sure that we had, with MTA and DPW, led this effort along with our police and others, not just to slow down traffic, not just to get congestion out of the way, not just to debox or decongest the boxes, but we also have to make sure that all of our utility vehicles in the city, whether they're driven by DPW or Recology, whether they're a trucker that is delivering their goods or picking up goods, whether it's UPS, FedEx, or whether it's the large truckers that are coming in to go to Safeway and Lucky's and and the farmers and the produce markets and others, that we all go through a very specialized training. Today, we're announcing a large vehicle urban training program, driving training program, where we will ask that there be a special certification, a special training that's conducted, that is embraced by the Truckers Association and others, that we make sure this training program adheres to the special needs of a very congested urban setting like San Francisco. This is what Vision Zero recommended. We are implementing that today. We're requiring all of our truckers, be they city employees or in the private sector, go through this training and make sure that the drivers themselves understand how to go through a very congested urban setting and pay very close attention to the pedestrians, to bicyclists, not just having the right to go through a light, but taking that extra precaution, just as we have been training our pedestrians. Doesn't matter what the light color is anymore. You've got to look both ways. You've got to understand people may not be paying attention. There's the congestion in the streets and in the intersections are so high that, and people are so distracted with so many different things, we've got to pay attention to a higher level of safety in the city. And that's why I'm very proud to endorse this effort. I'm proud of all the departments to begin doing this in a very deliberate way. And we launch this Vision Zero with a very strong, aggressive education program that should last for a long time. Truckers and others, they change all the time, schedules change all the time, but the level of safety has to be at the highest level. And as you're turning corners, as you're going down our corridors, as you're coming out of construction sites and into them, or you're at the store delivering and picking up, each and every one of these situations has the ability to hurt someone, and we want everyone to be that much more aware. Police chief just told me that we were lucky. The month of January, we have had no fatalities, pedestrian or otherwise, due to traffic. That is a good start. Just a start, but it's a good start. A start we're proud of, and we need to repeat that over and over again. So the month of February and March, April, and all these months will continue, I think, this very strong effort. But if we do this education right, if the drivers of these large utility vehicles pay attention even more, we have that better of a chance to have this record continue throughout the other months. If we have the strong coalition of people working on the next idea, and Supervisor, we commit to the next idea as well, to continue this effort, we'll have a safer arena, especially in the District 6 arena where so much construction is going on, so much delivery. Good economic activity is not to be criticized, but the lack of paying attention to safety has to be criticized, has to be corrected, has to be educated, has to change. This is the commitment we made, and it wasn't just any kind of a campaign slogan. You know that we're putting some serious dollars to this to honor the voters' investment of over $500 million in our transportation. $300 million of it will go to redesign our streets and alleyways and all the other areas where people are going through to make sure. But we begin by saying, let's all renew the driving ability of large vehicles where people really, if you encounter these things in a negative way, you just don't have a chance. And so it begins with the drivers themselves saying, we're going to commit with the city. We love this economic time, but we're also going to honor life in the highest way we can. I want to just give a special thanks to the California Trucker Association for joining this, because they're going to help us with all the other companies in the city, make sure we lead the way with the proper training. So I want to just say, again, thank you, Ed, to your leadership, Mohammed, to your leadership as well. And let's not only enjoy these economic times, everybody, but let's pay attention to all the other things that keep our city successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This large vehicle driver training program was not just recommended through the Vision Zero process, which involves many stakeholders from both within the government and outside. It actually originated from the mayor himself, and this was towards the end of 2013 when we had a number of serious and fatal incidents in our streets. And again, as the mayor said, it's a small number of incidents that involve large vehicles, but they tend to be disproportionately severe and fatal. And it was out of that, after a rash of those, largely, if not completely in Supervisor Kim's district, that the mayor charged us with developing this program, and with great cooperation from the California Trucking Association, from the Teamsters, from folks locally here like Recology and UPS and FedEx, our friends across the bay at AC Transit. We've developed what I think will be a model program for the country, something we're very proud of. There's maybe not a whole lot of issues within City Hall that have across the board unanimous support, but Vision Zero is one of them. So it's not just from the leadership on the executive branch that we get from the mayor, but it's also the Board of Supervisors, who also sit as the county's Transportation Authority Commission, that provide the policy leadership and as well as funding to advance some of the work that we're doing here. We're very fortunate to have someone who represents an area that has the highest amount of need with regard to street safety, being at the forefront of the leadership on this issue for the Transportation Authority, serving as the chair of the Vision Zero subcommittee, and also as on the Board of Supervisors representing District 6. That includes Tenderloin and South of Market areas, two of the highest concentrations of serious and fatal collisions in this city. So please join me in welcoming from the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Jane Kim.
Thank you. It is really great to be out here to announce this program this morning. As many of you know, pedestrian safety has always been one of my top concerns in the district that I represent. It was the first hearing I called, and actually, I believe it was the second meeting that I had with the mayor after we both came into office in 2011, where I presented some of the data on collisions between pedestrians and cyclists and vehicles in the district that I represent. And I remember being a little nervous because it was the first time I was presenting policy concepts that we wanted to work on the board. And without even skipping a beat, the mayor said, "This is my priority. Safety is absolutely one of the first things that we got to make sure that we ensure for our residents here in San Francisco." And it's really been a pleasure to work with the mayor's administration and his department heads to make this a reality for all of our residents throughout the city. 2013 was a really hard year for us. It had been an issue we had been working on, and yet we had seen a rise in pedestrian and cyclist fatalities. And we had noticed that there was a disproportionate number of those fatalities that involved large vehicles. And I remember we had lost 3 of our cyclists in 2013 due to collisions with large vehicles in our city. All that were contributing to jobs and economic activity in San Francisco, all positive things. But an outcome of our positive economic activity shouldn't be fatalities and severe injuries. And the Bike Coalition approached our office, and I know the mayor's office had also conceived of a curriculum that we could use with our city drivers. And as we commit to Vision Zero in 10 years here in San Francisco, it's important that the city commits to Vision Zero first, that we model for all of our drivers throughout San Francisco that Vision Zero is possible. And so I'm excited that this is going to be a first step for the city, saying that we will hit Vision Zero before 10 years. all of our city drivers, our contractor drivers, we're not going to be involved in fatalities and collisions here in San Francisco. And that is really exciting. And I should also mention that this effort has been really community-based. We have residents that are actually here in the audience from the Tenderloin, from South of Market, from Chinatown, and of course our Bike Coalition and Walk SF that are at every meeting with our department heads, with our Vision Zero co-chairs, Megan Weir from Department of Public Health and Tim Papandreou from SFMTA, really working through the nitty-gritty issues. And I want to recognize John Knox, who's also here, that really led the large vehicle training studies to make sure that we were able to present all of that today. But I do want to recognize our pedestrians and cyclists that gave us the feedback on what they'd like to see in the curriculum. Yes. And their feedback is just as important as any of our experts because they're the ones on the streets and they're the ones representing their communities and neighborhoods to make it safe for all. 0 fatalities in the month of January is huge news. I can't tell you how many funerals that I've gone to of residents that we've lost in our district, and there is nothing more heartbreaking than meeting the mom, the father, the sister, the best friend who had their loved one day and lost them in a flash in the next. And these deaths are absolutely 100% preventable. And everything that the city can do to ensure that we are keeping one more son, one more brother, daughter, sister alive to be loved by their loved ones is a huge achievement for the city. So I just want to recognize and thank everyone for all of their efforts to make this a reality, and so excited about the curriculum starting. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. The idea of cities embracing Vision Zero or goals like Vision Zero is something that's really picking up currency across the country and across the world. And as we talk to folks in other cities, domestically and internationally, and explain to them the leadership that we have from our city hall, from our mayor, from our local legislative leaders and our board of supervisors, people are jealous of the leadership and support we have because they recognize how important that is to make this meaningful for all of the city agencies, for the public, for the community at large. So I can't emphasize how blessed we are to have this kind of leadership, and that's why we're able and will be able to move the needle. I'd like to say that's why we achieved Vision Zero in January, but I share the supervisor's goal that we beat even the ambitious 2024 goal. A hallmark of Mayor Lee's administration has been the city departments working together, and I think you can see from some of the folks behind me, some of the folks out here, that we have really strong collaboration among the different departments, from our great police department, our great chief of police, Greg Sir, and his newly assigned commander assigned to the MTA to help us on all safety and security issues in transportation and Mannix. From our great police chief, Joanne Hayes-White, who's represented here today by Assistant Chief Ken Lombardi and our Fire Marshal Michi Wong. We have our Carla Johnson, Director, Mayor's Office on Disability. I saw somewhere out there our Port Director, Monique Moyer. We have the city family working together, and not just the traditional partners like police and public works, but also, at least for some people's perspective, a non-traditional partner who's really emerged as a great leader and helping to shape and guide the work that we're doing in the city, and that's the Department of Public Health. Looking at the issue of 30 or so people dying in our streets as a public health issue and bringing all the brain power, the epidemiological lens of thinking about this issue has added tremendous value and really has put us in the leadership nationwide, if not internationally, in terms of how we're tackling this issue and understanding what's creating these. And as the supervisor said, every one of these is preventable. And the Department of Public Health has been a great leader in helping us identify how we actually can prevent the serious and fatal injuries. So I'm very glad to be able to bring up next the Director of the Department of Public Health, Barbara Garcia.
Good morning. The Department of Public Health is so proud to be able to co-chair Vision Zero Task Force. One of our biggest and I think most important role is, of course, is education and prevention of pedestrian injuries. And this means really educating drivers and pedestrians in terms of slowing down and watching when you're crossing roads or when you're walking through the streets of San Francisco. One of the most important contributions we've made to this Vision Task Force is to ensure that we have the data and surveillance so we can really focus our efforts where the efforts is needed. Today we spend $15 million a year on pedestrian injuries in our San Francisco General Hospital Trauma Center. We believe we can reduce this, we believe we can eliminate this by ensuring that we all work together and that we really embrace all of the efforts and the policies and the direction of particularly our Mayor Lee, who's giving us the direction and also this total support to ensure that our staff is engaged. I want to acknowledge Megan Weir, who's been our leader in this effort, and she's done a fantastic job. I've watched her in the meetings, and it's really important to see a public health person right next to the individuals designing streets to ensure that we, for the future, also design our streets more safe for our drivers and our pedestrians. We're very proud of this effort, and we look forward to making Vision Zero effective in less than 10 years. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbara. Probably our closest partner in the effort of getting the actual improvements in the ground. The mayor mentioned $300 million of the $500 million of the Prop A that the voters authorized last November will advance Vision Zero. As part of Vision Zero, we've committed to fast-tracking 24 projects in 24 months. We've completed, I think, 10 of those already, and we're doing that in close collaboration with our Department of Public Works, from the design to the installation to overseeing the construction. They're our partner in getting these in the ground. So I want to join the mayor in thanking them for hosting us today, and please join me in welcoming the Director of Public Works, Mohammed Nuru.
Yeah, let me begin by just thanking everyone for coming out today for this very, very important event. You know, our city, driving a large vehicle around here can be very, very difficult, and safety should always be our #1 priority. And at Public Works, nobody, no matter what size of vehicle it is, gets in a car without really going through training. It is very, very important, especially as we begin to change what our streets look like, making it more pedestrian friendly, making it more easier to bike around, our lanes, you know, a little bit smaller. It's a little harder for large trucks to drive around the city. And so it is very, very important that we all get together and talk about what are the best ways that we can do the business that we have to do and still make sure that people can get around easily around our city. The large vehicle working group has been around for about a year. It is being formalized today, but a lot of ideas have come out of that working group. In fact, we take our sweepers to the Sunday streets, we put out on display, and we get to talk to bicyclists the things that they experience when large trucks are moving. And so we take those in to the working group. The working group is open to all kinds of ideas. I'm very, very confident that as we move forward, we will change the way it is and make it much easier for large trucks to be able to do their business. But with that said, there's still a lot of work that we have to do. And we at Public Works are very, very proud to embrace the 2-year plan of Vision Zero. And I'm also very, very confident that by 2024 that we will reach the goal of 0 fatalities. So I want to thank everyone. We still have a lot of work to do, but it is a partnership of not just all our city agencies. It involves FedEx, UPS, Recology, and all those teams of people that bring large vehicles into the city. In closing, I would like to thank Nancy George, who has really led this effort and is out there anytime something happens, looking at what happened, how it happened, and the best way to solve that problem. So thank you all for coming out. And again, I'm very, very confident we can reach 0 fatalities by 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. The 2-year plan that Mohammed referenced is the Vision Zero action strategy that the mayor is releasing today. This vehicle training program is one piece of it, but the strategy is kind of an action plan for the next 2 years in the areas of education, engineering, enforcement, evaluation, and policy. And it tasks many of the departments here and others in the city family with specific goals and milestones and things that we are seeking and the mayor is directing us to achieve in the next 2 years so that we can get closer to that 2024 goal. So we do have, it's up on our website, and I believe we have copies here for the media, or we'll make copies available if we don't have them. But it's this larger strategy that's really going to guide our work going forward, and will also be the yardstick by which the public can measure how well that we are doing in this endeavor. Which leads me to our final speaker, and it's not just the city family, but it's the community at large that needs to embrace Vision Zero if it's going to become a reality. And there is a coalition of community organizations that have come together to advocate for, to help us think through, and to really push the city towards achieving this goal. And some of our advocacy organizations in the city have really been at the tip of the spear of that effort to rally community groups, neighborhood associations, business associations in support of Vision Zero to help increase awareness across the city, but also to hold our feet to the fire, to hold us accountable, to push us to do as much as we can possibly do within the city and in collaboration with all of our community partners to achieve this goal. I want to acknowledge our outgoing and incoming executive directors of the San Francisco Bicycle Coalition, Leah Shaham and Noah Budnick, very strong partners. And their counterpart looking out for all of us who get around the city by walking. Every trip begins and ends on foot, so we are all pedestrians and representing and advocating for all of us as pedestrians, and a real important part of this whole effort, working with the city and pushing the city, is the executive director of Walk San Francisco, Nicole Schneider.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Director Ruskin, for that introduction, and to Mayor Lee for your leadership today, and Supervisor Kim, and all of the department leaders here today, and the San Francisco Bicycle Coalition. This is an amazing moment. A year ago, as advocates, about 20 community organizations stood at the steps of City Hall asking for the city to hear our cries for 6-year-old Sophia Liu, 23-year-old Amelie Maluak, who lost their lives to traffic, to something that is completely preventable. And today we're here 1 year later, having worked long and hard to come together around this issue, and it's amazing to see the amount of people here today, the different department leaders, the progress that we've made with the private sector, working with businesses and our city family to develop a large vehicle training program. These are the sorts of things that we need to embrace and continue as we head into year 2. And I also want to thank every single group that has become the Vision Zero Coalition. This is, we started off with a not so small group of 20 different community organizations, and now we're almost at 40 different organizations. So I just want to ask everyone within the Vision Zero Coalition to raise your hand with pride for what we've accomplished in this last year. And I also want to welcome, as Director Ruskin said, our newest coalition member, who is Noah Budnick from New York, who's coming to us from New York City's Vision Zero campaign, and we're really lucky to have him. And as we head into year 2, I also want to recognize that we need to build on the progress that we've made. We stand here today with having worked incredibly hard to get to this point, countless hours to create what has become the Vision Zero effort that will change the landscape in San Francisco. Right now we are changing part of our society that has become so ingrained in what we are today. A society that doesn't see that sees a collision as an accident, that sees these things as unavoidable. We're changing that so that we can be on our streets, have community on our streets rather than fear on our streets. And as part of that change, it's going to take a long time, and it's going to take a lot of effort. But I see year 2, as we head into year 2, as the most critical year, because this is the year where we head into implementation. And we're not going to do any of that alone. We're going to have to work together. And as we work together, I think the most important things that we can do are get those projects on the ground. Make sure that every street that we touch becomes a safe street, and not just a safer street, because a safer street leaves room for where human error might result in death or serious injury. Vision Zero is about creating a system that does not allow human error to result in death or serious injury. The other things that we need to do are prioritize speed. Speed is a invisible crime, or a crime that has been perceived as invisible for far too long, yet it kills 10 times more people than driving under the influence in San Francisco. So as we work towards enforcement and consider the various options to improve enforcement, let's all come together around speed. And all of these our top three priorities are laid out in the Vision Zero Coalition's progress report, where we also highlight everything that the city has accomplished in this first year and our key priorities for the coming year. So as I wrap up, I just want to thank everyone here today and all of our different community members who have come together. We have, this is a movement that stems from the mayor's office and the Board of Supervisors and all of the department leaders standing behind me. But it also is a movement that's grounded in the community. We have Kevin, who's a tenant organizer at CCSRO, here with us. We have John Alex Lowell, who's been fighting traffic safety for a decade. All of these folks here with us today. Fran Taylor, who led the effort for who leads CC Puede, who led the effort to make Cesar Chavez a safe street. So this is really an incredible movement that brings all of these different communities together on something that is a personal issue in each community, but is also a common thread across our communities and the private sector, like large vehicles. So thank you all, and here's to a wonderful and successful year 2.
Thank you, Nicole. So as you can see, and the action strategy that we're releasing today lays out, we have a significant role within the government. There's a lot that we are tasking ourselves, that the mayor is tasking us to achieve in the next 2 years. Our community leaders are stepping up and exhibiting the leadership that we need to push this message out. But ultimately, it's every single one of us in San Francisco, those of us who live here, those of us who work here, anybody who visits here, we all have a role to play. Every one of these collisions is preventable. So when you're out on the streets of San Francisco, put away your electronic device, slow down. Nicole made reference to the impact speed can have and turning something into a serious or fatal collision. You can enjoy our city more if you're going slow. So slow down, don't get distracted, and we'll have a much better chance of reaching and exceeding the goal, getting to that goal sooner. So thanks everyone for coming out today. vision0sf.org is where you can find the action strategy, where you can track our progress relative to that strategy. You can track the implementation of projects. You can track the advancement of policy initiatives. vision0sf.org. Thank you everybody for coming out today.